Well, the big thing this week is we get Mr. Deshaun Watson back. He's at practice this week. We're going to be discussing that a lot. What this thing looks like going forward on the Locked On Browns podcast. We'll go to the first segment. What will the reps look like? You know, you got to get Jacoby Brissett together, but we still want to see what Deshaun Watson is going to do. Me and Jeff will talk about how will we divvy up the reps when it comes to this. A second segment, we will get to the transition, right? Right now, the Browns are a run-heavy team. We all know that. Do you think that they should be transitioning to more of a passing attack? What does that naturally look like? And in the final segment, we'll definitely get into a hypothetical here. Would you rather have the Browns look good on offense and Deshaun Watson hitting on all cylinders, but you lose some games? Or would you rather have the offense be mediocre, but the Browns win because they lean on the run game? We'll talk about it. It's a Catch-22. We'll get to all those things and more on this episode of the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Your daily delivery of all things Dawn LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As we've been mentioning, this is going to be the goal. We're going to try and go here 2 o'clock live. Tuesday may be the off day. Browns only are Sunday games from here on out. So unless something changes, that's going to be the plan. So you'll get us on the 2-minute drill. Myself, Garrett, Bush, of course, Adam the Bull, Mikey McNuggets, as we break everything down at the 2-minute warning at the current Cleveland Browns game. Get right back in with John Costco as soon as he's got the grades ready and the film studied. And then we'll slowly transition into what will be the next game week. Of course, live every day, YouTube, right around 2 o'clock. I am one of the Locked On Browns hosts, Jeff Loyd, at Jeff_LJ_Loyd, and also from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, the Barbershop on 92.3 The Fan, Saturday mornings, pregame, postgame coverage for the Browns, for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and of course the Cleveland Cavaliers. Garrett Bush at GBush91. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day, whether it's on your favorite podcast platform, of course on YouTube, and of course you can find us through the Roku app when you look for Locked On Cleveland Sports. Today's episode of Locked On Browns is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than the Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your first entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, no space. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Welcome back, everybody. I do want to let everybody know here, I know there's a lot of talk about the weather for Buffalo, and the more you get into it, it looks like the majority of the weather will be over by Sunday. So there's still going to be cold. It's still going to be windy, but the majority of the snowfall looks like it will have taken place before the game starts on Sunday. So just a quick update there. So everybody was getting ready for maybe snow angels and, maybe a plow coming on the field at a crucial timeout. Not sure that is going to be the case. To some new things here, roster-wise. And come on, you all laughed when you saw it yesterday. Did the Browns sign Ben Stiller? Come on, I know I wasn't the only one. But Ben Still,
it's crazy.
Ben Still comes in for the Miami Dolphins practice squad. A little bit of an older rookie, spent 5 years at the University of Nebraska, 6'5", 300 pounds. He was athletic at Nebraska, had a lot of production. As you saw last week with the Dolphins, they're stacked on the defensive line, so no room. But he comes in, he goes right to the active roster. So we'll see the way this plays out for the next few days, for the Browns, hopefully a guy they want to get a look at here over the second half of the regular season. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah at practice today. Wyatt Teller at practice today. The most significant one missing, of course, still David Njoku. We'll see the way it plays this week plays out for David, because we're starting to get to a point for the Browns. Showing up on Friday for practice isn't good enough. unless those days were given for specific rest. Even if you practice on Friday, that might not be good enough to get you dressing on Sunday for the Browns. But most importantly, back on the practice field today for the Cleveland Browns, number 4, Deshaun Watson. It's been a long time coming. And of course, Deshaun Watson slated to return December 4th in Houston. Everything that you can get from the league to this point says it looks like that is going to be the case. He has cooperated. He has followed the guidelines the league has put in place for him as far as his reinstatement. So it does get a little bit difficult now. You have a huge 2 weeks here. And the Browns, we talked about it. They needed to go 2-1 over this stretch. Now they're to the point where they've already lost that one. You're going to Buffalo, which, and anybody who knows the show knows I truly think Buffalo is outstanding, even though a couple of flukes over the last 2 weeks. This team lost 3 games by a combined 8 points. So don't let that record fool you and think that maybe this is a team that's falling apart. Just having a difficult run right now. Garrett, the key is you have a quarterback to prepare for the next 2 weeks who is going to be your starter in Jacoby Brissett. You also have a quarterback who hasn't played in almost 2 calendar years, who you've got to get as much rust shaken off of before you make that trip down to Houston the first weekend in December to face the Texans. It's a really difficult process. For me, I would kind of maybe divvy it up, because if you're familiar with practices at the collegiate level, personal level, usually you have every quarterback kind of running the rep. The starting quarterback, but the backups run it. They throw to the second. They run to the third, targets in the route progression. That's the way it kind of goes. So it's going to be tough here, and you've got to get Deshaun as much work as possible. And look, this is on Deshaun. Deshaun has to be ready. It's not the Browns' fault that he was suspended for the amount of time he was. That is his own doing. He has to be ready to go. So it is a tricky and a slippery slope, Garrett, because you're trying to get one guy ready, hopefully for the next decade, and then you're trying to get one guy ready to hopefully go 2-0. So when this guy does come back the first weekend of December, you actually have something to play for.
It is a catch-22. It's a catch-22 because you want to win some ball games, and there is a slight variation. I think you look at it, a lot of the pundits is talking about at least a 5 to 6% chance that the Browns can make the playoffs. We talked about it earlier. You got to win 2 out of 3. Well, now you got to win 2 out of 2. And so now you look at going into Buffalo against one of the best teams in the league. You also look at the situation where you got to play Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming into your house as well. So, these games are now getting to the nitty-gritty, and you do have a small hope. But when you're in the NFL, you need your team to know that you're putting your best foot forward. But I will say this is an extenuating circumstance. Right now, there's one thing that I worry about the most out of anything with Deshaun Watson. It's not whether or not he's going to, be great or he's going to put up 400 yards. The thing I always worry about is him not being up to game speed. And what happens when you're not up to game speed? That adrenaline starts to kick in. Deshaun Watson is out here moving around. He's going to be running around. He's going to be spry. All those different things. Now that leads to, guess what? Well, Deshaun Watson wasn't ready to go. He wanted to go 100%. And the first thing that happens, you tweak a hamstring. Calf injury. Ankle. All those soft tissue exercises that you do that most people wouldn't think of are in play now because he doesn't understand what game speed is. He remembers it, but it's one thing to remember it and to get your body up to speed and be used to that type of energy. So if it was me, I'd have him taking, I already came out and said this. I got him at 50% of the reps. Give him 50. Here's my thing. The reason you can get that off is because Jacoby Brissett has played this entire year. He knows the offense. He knows the way you want to call it. He understands where his reads, where his throws are going to be at. And that's what backup quarterbacks are meant to do. They're like relief pitchers. Relief pitchers understand what it is when you stretch them out and you get them ready for the bullpen and you get them ready for what they know they're going to do in that short work. Jacoby Brissett is in the middle of the season. He'll be fine. He's used to going out and playing football, throw the ball around. And I would run it as if Jacoby Brissett is limited in his body, like he had an injury or something, and he's only going to take half the reps. Because what I want to do is I want to get him as close to ready as he can to hit the ground running. Now it's a catch-22. Buffalo is a great team, and you need all hands on deck. You need to be able to be locked in with that. But I just think at this point, Jeff, I need to get Deshaun Watson ready, because at the end of the day, it's a 95% chance right now we're not making the playoffs. And I got to see what this team looks like. I have to understand what it's going to be so I can retool on the run during this offseason, whether it be receivers, whether it be defensive tackles, whatever it needs to be. I need to be up and ready to go in order to get this dude ready.
I do agree with you there as far as, having everything in place for Watson, because if we're being serious, this is going to be a 6-game run of getting Deshaun Watson reacclimated to the NFL and making some serious is going to be a part of this going further. Jeff, Loyd, Garrett Bush, your latest Locked on Browns now. A word from the good folks over at Prize Picks. I tell you all the time, for me, when you get the solo games, the Sunday night game, the Thursday night game, the Monday night game, I love going to Prize Picks. I love putting together a lineup. It's simple. It's easy. All you do is you pick 2 to 5 players. And if they will go score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up 10 times on your money on any entry. You're not competing against other people. It's literally just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch: the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, collegiate football, men's and women's collegiate basketball, you name it. If you're in the area, you can throw a couple of shekels down. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. You deposit $100, they give you $100. You deposit $50, they give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Simply Safe. Did you know that over days, property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spike nationally? That's why our friends at Simply Safe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your Simply Safe system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. Look, I've been there. You've been there. COVID hit. We were ordering a lot more, having it sent directly to the house. Things were either not coming, things were being taken. So you had to go ahead and find a way to combat. So Simply Safe is controlling your system from your phone with the app, watching the crystal clear HD live stream of your security cameras, the wide variety of high-tech sensors, or something else. News and World Report for a year in a row. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use fast technology exclusively for Simply Safe to capture critical evidence, verify the threat is real, so you can get priority police response. With the top-rated Simply Safe app, stay in complete control of your system anytime, anywhere. Arm or disarm, unlock for a guest, access your cameras, or adjust system settings. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system Garrett and I recommend. Get 50% off any new Simply Safe system at simplysafe.com/URL today. This is their biggest discount of the year, so do not wait. That's simplysafe.com/LockedOnNFL. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Welcome back to the Locked On Browns podcast. G. Bush in the building, Jeff Loyd in the building. If you guys are watching this and you're checking this out, either on Facebook or on Twitter or in the Barbershop YouTube page, what we're doing is we're trying to get you guys to come on over. We got daily content over here on Locked On Browns. I know a lot of individuals watch my stuff on the Barbershop. A lot of individuals follow me on Twitter. So this is a great opportunity to get some great content 5 days a week over here in the Locked On Browns podcast. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at Locked On Browns, and as well, check us out on YouTube, Locked On Browns podcast. 5 days a week. We also give you a post game. We live stream called the 2-minute warning. We'll definitely continue to do that. We'll continue to do that throughout the year. So come on over, stop on over. Check us out at Locked On Browns, and we will be definitely giving you content. And we thank everybody who is checking us out throughout any other formats we have, either the Roku or anywhere you download your podcast as well. To your point, Jeff, I'll tell you this: when you're looking at the situation with Deshaun Watson, you get to a point where we say, all right, so what is this going to look like? We kind of know what the run game has been so far. We kind of know what the run game has been established with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. For me, I start to look at this thing and wonder, okay, is this a situation where the Cleveland Browns start to look to do some other things? When you talk about doing other things, are they going to be a more pass-happy team, a team that throws the ball down the field? Or are they going to revert and stay where they are and try to be as balanced as possible? I think this is a very good question because, the identity of the team is something that I've always wanted to talk about. And I think it's very important to teams that are very good in the NFL. When you look at the Buffalo Bills, take a look at them. They talk about weather. Josh Allen is a big, strong guy. They drafted him because he was big and strong, played in Wyoming, big arm, can take hits, guy runs the football, ball security. You need one of those type guys when you are playing in a cold weather outdoor stadium like Buffalo. And so when it's cold and, it's swirling around, you need somebody to push the ball downfield. And so when you look at the teams, they build their teams based on what their identity is. And so for the Browns, we look at it with Deshaun Watson. What he's been so far in Houston is the fact that they're throwing the ball downfield. He's thrown for 4,300 yards. He over 100 touchdowns, less than 40 interceptions. So he's a guy that is predominantly really throwing the football very well. Now, when we take a look at Nick Chubb, we take a look at Stefanski, what he's traditionally done. He's been more of a 3 tight end guy. He's been more of a guy who is utilizing the play action game. I want to see the evolution of this and whether or not Kevin Stefanski in the second part of this year, how does he change the look of this offense and the look of this team? I would venture to say they've already wanted to keep Nick Chubb under 20 carries. I expect that to be moving forward, and they will increase your touches downfield and some of the other places when Deshaun Watson comes back and is the quarterback. Your thoughts on that, Jeff?
I'm totally with you there because of the fact you need to do a lot of evaluation here. And for only 6 games to try and see it's going to be reps. Amari Cooper, obviously, Donovan Peoples-Jones this year has shown growth, outstanding growth. And if you check and you look deeper into some of the work, it's not like Donovan Peoples-Jones is wide open. He's making a lot of contested catches and, very impressive in that. I suggested the Green Bay Packers yesterday had released Amari Rodgers. Browns don't really have a slot wide receiver. Amari Rodgers could be interesting, was a top 100 pick in the 2021 draft. Was drafted well before a player like Donovan Peoples-Jones was the year before. I want to get people in here, and I want to get other people. I've had people literally, the wide receiver room is fine. Really, the wide receiver room is Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Nobody else has done anything to this point. And you want to find, grow, nurture players that you think will succeed with Deshaun Watson. And if you're not really in contention, the best thing to do is to get Watson as back to NFL ready as possible. There's just no question. He's the future of this franchise. For any success this franchise is going to have, it is going to be on what number 4 can do for this team. So if you were not playing or competing for a playoff spot, it is all about getting the best work you can with Deshaun Watson over 6 weeks, getting the best understanding of what you're going to need to do to continue to put Deshaun Watson in the best possible spot to succeed. That's because basically, as Deshaun Watson goes, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry will go. So there is that. We're going to talk a little bit, about what's most important over those 6 weeks. Is it going to making sure that Deshaun Watson is all the way back, or is it going to be, about the Browns' win-loss record? Again, we still have 2 weeks to go before Deshaun comes back. Still have 2 weeks to go to know exactly where this team is going to stand when Deshaun Watson comes back. Jeff Loyd, Garrett Bush, your latest Locked on Browns. Built Bar. Everybody knows about Built Bar, whether it is the Puffs, whether it is the bar themselves. Built Bar has always been a huge, huge fan and asset here to the folks over at Locked on Browns. You can go to BuiltBar.com, use the promo code LOCKEDON15. You will get a chance to get a discount on the Puffs, on the bars. When you're deciding flavors, look, they're all good. So why don't you have it make a mixed box for you? You'll get 8 next time. Go ahead and you can get a better feel of what you like. BuiltBar.com, Locked on 15.
Welcome back to the Locked on Brown podcast. G. Bush, Jeff Loyd in the building. We appreciate you. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you get, in contact with all of our top content, and you never will miss a beat here. We appreciate you guys. Where we're at too. We have a little bit of choppiness, so we're just still trying to work that out. We are aware of it, so we're trying to get that thing figured out. That's just one of the things that happens when you go live. We appreciate your patience with that, and we'll continue to work that out and figure out what's the best way to deliver the content. So thank you so much for being patient with us here as well. Make sure you continue to follow Locked on Browns, continue to follow G. Bush, and consider to follow Jeff Loyd. Now, let's move forward. We've talked a little bit about the ways the offense is going to look now. Let's look at about the way the entire program is built. This was a nice little funny hypothetical, because I talked on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I said, this is a way that the Browns and Deshaun Watson can save their season. If Deshaun Watson comes out and looks great, he comes out and looks fantastic, he comes out and he's throwing the ball, people are efficient, he's throwing for over 300 yards, and the offense looks great, I think people will sacrifice winning and losing a little bit. Now, you may say, come on, G. Bush, come on. It's all about winning. Nobody in that locker room is going to want to go out here and take these L's. It's not about that situation. So, for me, I will say this, though. If you're not going to be in the playoffs, the main factor is seeing how you're going to move. And so, for me, if they're going to move in a certain way and they're going to look good doing it, I think there's a lot of people out there will accept that. Now, I'm not going to turn down no wins. But for me, you got to look at the win losses and are those leading to one or two things. High draft picks. Well, we already know we ain't got no high draft picks. So, and that's because of the guy we got. So, okay, that's fine. The second thing is, are you making the playoffs? And if you ain't making the playoffs, I'm going to tell you what, I'd rather see him look good, Jeff. If they come out here and they putting up points, that'll lead to some victories, right? That'll lead to some games down the stretch where they're going to play well. But for me, my goal is, I'm really not even trying to see Nick Chubb, and I've been the biggest Chubb fan in the world. I'm not trying to see Nick Chubb run the ball 40 times no more, because here's the thing. When they had an opportunity to do it, they wasn't giving it to him 40 times. So I don't think they're going to do it now. But what I do want to see is, is Schwartz somebody that can ever get off the bench? David Bell, Woods, all these young receivers that are supposed to look better with a guy that's a top 5, top 10 type caliber quarterback. I want to see if those guys can salvage their careers and their seasons, or do I need to go in free agency and get me something? Because at the end of the day, we need to evaluate some of these people, so next year we're hitting the ground running. Your thoughts on what you would like to see? Would you rather have them look mediocre and win games, or Deshaun Watson looks like he's a top 5 quarterback and has not missed a beat and maybe lose a couple?
If you're saying, the record is the most important thing once you've been eliminated, that doesn't make much sense. Once you are eliminated, you go straight into an evaluation mode. There's, and now everybody run the ball raw, run the ball more. You have to understand that this passing game is playing and performing very well right now. They are. The problem is are they going to it too much? Yes, I absolutely agree. But the completion percentage, the amount of yards, the play of Jacoby Brissett. Now, what leads to it is their offense cannot play at a gunslinger rate the way the Buffalo Bills can, the way the Kansas City Chiefs can. And it's due a little bit in turn to Jacoby Brissett. His back pedal is slow. He has a long release. I've talked about this many times. He is just not that quick in the way, in his mannerisms, in his body movement. He is very accurate. There's no question about that. He has a strong arm. There is no question about that. He does not have the great escapability from pass rush. These are all things that are going to pick up a ton when you transition to Deshaun Watson. Not to mention, he's just as accurate, just as strong as an arm. These are all things that are going to work that way. This is all about seeing what you have in Deshaun Watson. This is all about seeing if you have the right pieces around him. You want to see David Njoku play with him. You want to see Amari Cooper play with him. You want to see Donovan Peoples-Jones play with him. Yes, you want to see Woods. Yes, you want to see David Bell. Are these guys that can perform with number 4? If they're not, it's been real, and we're going to go find somebody or somebodies who can play at the level of a Deshaun Watson. This is like having a great point guard who the best part of his game is keeping everybody involved, and he's an incredible passer. Well, if you don't have any wings to throw it to, you don't have any bigs to alley-oop it to, it's kind of pointless to just have the great point guard. And this is what you're going to deal with Deshaun Watson and over the 6 weeks. Look, the Browns win on Sunday somehow against Buffalo. It changes the landscape. And certainly it changes the landscape if they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Deshaun Watson returns and this team is 5-6. And it is truly about winning each and every Sunday. It may not get to that case. If that is not the case, you got a lot of players on that defensive side of the ball. I've got about 5 of them that I have as locks sticking here in 2022. And on the offensive side of the ball, you'll feel better. You feel better about the roster, the way it's constructed, the way it is about going further. But it's now time to see the way you perform with Deshaun Watson.
That's it. And I'm with you. I said 50-50 reps this week. If he might get 75 the week after that. You don't
beat the Bills. I mean, how much do you really even got to do with, Jacoby? How much you got to do?
If you want to come into that game and just run the ball to every single play, fine, cool. I'm cool with that. At that point, and by the way, too, they didn't move Kareem Hunt, Jeff. They didn't move Kareem Hunt. And hold on, there's a question somebody had in the chat. Now I'll throw this to you really quickly before we get up out of here. We will start to take questions from your chats as well to answer maybe in the third half of the segment. This one comes in for you. Is from Adam Cerny. Will Joe Woods be here next year? I don't think he will be here next year unless something drastically happens where, the team looks like they're turning it around and trying to be here. I don't think he's going to be here next year. I wouldn't have said that he would have been here a couple weeks before that. So for me, I think he's proverbially on borrowed time. I think Kevin Stefanski is trying to do him a solid and just keep him here until the season and then move ways that way. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
I don't see there's any way this goes on. And to be fair, and, I am not a huge, fire a coordinator guy. But I do have questions as to why he's still here now. Look, maybe it's a different voice is just needed. And normally when you do that, what is the first thing you do? Whoever takes over the defense coordinator job, first thing they do is they say, okay, we work on 100 pages. I'm throwing 50 out because you just try to simplify things. Because what does it matter if the Browns have so many things they'd like to do on defense? They got about 1 or 2 of them that they're actually doing well. So there's no sense to be trying to do all the stuff that they're doing because they can't even do the most simplest thing, which is play the run. or take the proper gap, or give yourself up and understand you're going to get leveled by pulling guard for the betterment of your team, because there should be a guy right behind you who's going to make that play. Joe Woods' defense performed better in 2020 with a whole bunch of no-name dudes. Last year in 2021, as the season went on, they got really, really good and really played together. Not much change going into this year. And this defense, it teased us for a 2-week period down in Baltimore and then home on Monday night against the Cincinnati Bengals. Definitely teased us a little bit, thinking maybe he was grounded back into form. Then you get a bye, you go to Miami, and you get boat raced. Absolutely boat raced. I just think the relationship between Joe Woods and the players that he coaches on the defensive side of the ball, I just think it's to the point where it's a no coming back from situation. Whatever his theory is, his hypothesis is, it's just not working. The players are not responding. And yeah, they can amp it up every now and then, but you were viewed on your consistency, and this will be viewed on 17 games. And I think it's going to take an absolutely miraculous effort for Joe Woods to still be here as your defensive coordinator in 2023. Yep.
Totally agree with that. So, that's one of the questions from the chat. You guys keep being involved. We'll try to take one or two of these maybe throughout the segments. That's why we like doing these things live. More interaction, get you guys involved, get some of your questions answered. 67 people in the chat so far. Thank you guys so much for watching that. Hit that like button if you're catching it the first time. If you're on Twitter, if you're on the Facebook group, if you're on the Barbershop YouTube, come on over. Hit that like button over the Locked On Browns podcast. We'll be doing this for a little bit. We're going to try to get some subscribers, but this is where we at. We talk about grown, competent things over here on the Locked On Browns podcast. Not too much salaciousness. We don't do tabloids. We talk about roster moves. We talk about the week in, week out, nuts and bolts of the NFL season. So if you're really into football, you're really into the minutiae of the league, like a lot of people are, this is the place for you at Locked On Browns, and we do appreciate you with some of the glitchiness. We'll get that cleared up. We'll get that figured out, and then this thing will start hitting its stride, and we'll do that coming up next. Jeff, go ahead and take us out of here.
Yeah, no question about it. Also, you guys, listen, if you're going to be regulars here, you want to throw a tweet to me and Garrett during the day before we record this, you got a question you want went on, we're going to try to evolve to make this third segment directly for you all. That is the game plan here. Obviously, working through kinks. And as Garrett said, look, we got 30 minutes every day here. So basically, you're talking anywhere between 2.5 to 3 hours a week on Locked On Browns, while G. Bush and the guys have to do 10 hours over at the Cleveland Sports Show. So obviously, for us, it's going to be the hottest topics there are at the time. He is Garrett Bush, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Like I said, Barbershop, 92.3 The Fan, Saturday mornings, 8 to noon. Also, make sure you check out for pregame, postgame coverage for the Browns, the Buckeyes, the Cavaliers. G. Bush and the crew over there got you covered at G. Bush 91. Myself, Jeff Loyd, at Jeff_LJ_Loyd. Make sure you're following the Locked On Browns Twitter account, follow back account, as everybody knows. Whether it's your favorite podcast app, make sure you're subscribed over there. Or, of course, YouTube, subscribe, notifications on. You're here for an episode, throw a like on it for us. We kind of going to be your part of middays here, we think. And it works well. The Browns hit the practice field about 1:30, so we have basically all the information we need for the day when we go live at 2. So appreciate you all. Roku app, search Locked On Cleveland Sports. You'll find Locked On Browns over there. Just another avenue if you choose to join us with that as well. We appreciate you all for making Locked On Browns your first listen. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.